Hey guys, and welcome to my Kayle guide. My name is Kayle1v9 and I've been one-tricking Kayle since the end of Season 5. I have around 3.5 million mastery points on her, and I peaked at Grandmaster 398 LP in Season 10 on Europe West. So what makes me enjoy Kayle so much is her 1v9 potential. She has an insane scaling and she's also able to just dominate late game. What are the pros and cons about Kayle? The pros are that she has really good scaling, her kit is pretty simple and easy to learn, and she's a really good split pusher and a good team fighter. The cons are that she is a really weak early game champion, she's really item and level dependent, and she needs a lot of time to come online. So when should you pick up Kayle and when shouldn't you pick her? Kayle's worst enemy is hard CC, especially knockups, since they are not reducible by tenacity. Kayle also struggles into champions with a lot of range and mobility, but once you are on them, it's usually pretty easy to beat them. So we just talked about when Kayle is not a good pick, but when is she a good pick? Kayle really starts to shine when there's an healing or a shielding support on the team. She also has some really nice synergy with junglers like Ivan, Kayn, and Sejuani. Kayle counters assassins with her ult and is really good into immobile champs or team comps. Also, Kayle benefits from squishy enemies, since she can pretty much just one-shot any squishy AD carry or support late game. Let's talk about early game and how to play it. The most important part is for you to understand that Kayle isn't really a champion before level 6. So you need to be really careful in the first few levels. You rarely win trades, so it's just best to sit back and farm until you get your range at level 6. I usually just ignore my opponent and focus on farming. I don't really use my spells to poke, I'd rather use them to get last hits. Your E costs no mana, so make sure to use it as much as possible. I also rarely use my Q, because I save the mana for my W instead, so I can stay longer in lane. Once you're at level 6, you can look for small auto attack trades with an E reset, whenever the opponent is collecting CS. I usually still just focus on farming until level 11, because this is when I really get to play the game. Kayle can't really follow up roams, so every time you see that the enemy laner is roaming, make sure to push in the wave, maybe get a plating or two, and then just recall to buy items. In mid game, your first priority should still be getting as much CS as possible, so you can get to level 16 ASAP. A little trick is to just take some jungle camps on the way to lane, or when you just shoved in a wave. I do this once I'm level 11, because it makes clearing the camps a lot easier with your waves. You should stay in the opposite side lane depending on which objective is going to be up next. So, for example, when there's dragon up soon, you should go top lane and pressure the lane. But of course only when you got the TP up. Once you hit the juicy level 16, it's usually just best to group up with your team and look for objectives or force fights. Kayle is one of the best teamfight kits because your ult can be such a big game changer. Ulting the right target at the right time can literally just win you games. Also a small tip, ulting yourself or the strongest member on your team is your best bet to win. Don't hesitate using it too early, but try to not get baited into using it. Also, you should never ult the 0-12 Yasuo or your Nautilus support. Here are also some small mechanics that not everyone knows about Kayle. Your auto attacks and your waves both have their own crit chance. So when your auto crits, it doesn't necessarily mean that your wave will crit. And yes, your wave can crit. Whenever you ult, your passive will get reset after ult ends no matter what. So when you have, let's say for example 4 stacks and they're about to run out, you can just ult yourself to keep the 4 stacks after your ult duration. Your E splash at level 11 also applies on turrets, inhibs and wards. Sometimes when the enemy sits really low on the tower, or you are chasing someone to their tower, but you can't quite get them, just E the tower. A lot of people don't know that, so use it as your advantage. So what is Kayle's win condition? It's pretty simple. Scale. As long as you farm safe, stay in XP range and don't die early on, you have really high chances of winning. You are a scaling champion, so the less you fall behind early, the easier it will be for you to win. Alright, let's sum up the most important parts. First of all, don't pick Kayle into comms with a lot of CC or range. You won't have a great time, I promise you. She's great into immobile champs with less hard CC. Play passive, and I really mean passive. If you die early on, or miss out on a big wave, you're kinda screwed. Focus on farming and getting your items. Stay in side lane, farm jungle camps, and make sure to only look for fights or TP plays whenever you ult up. You pretty much beat every single champion in a 1 vs 1 late game, so don't be too scared to try out stuff. Once you're level 16, group up, force fights, don't play frontline and focus the squishy targets such as the ADC. And that's it for my Kayle guide. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you want to check out my stream, it's twitch.tv/Kayle_1v9. I pretty much stream every day at 3 PM Central European Time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.